बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम और अस्सलाम वालेकुम। थोड़ी देर पहले मेरा इंडियन मीडिया पे इंटरव्यू हुआ। इंटरव्यू इंडिया की मशहूर ज़माना एंकर और जर्नलिस्ट बरखा दत्त ने किया। अब बरखा के जो क्वेश्चंस थे, एक तो इसलिए इंटरेस्टिंग थे मेरे लिए कि उनका जो फोकस था वो सिर्फ इमरान खान की जो सियासी जीत है और पीटीआई का जो ये ड्रामेटिक किस्म का जो कमबैक है, सिर्फ इस पे नहीं था। यस, वो जानना चाह रही थी कि इमरान खान कैसे आ गया है, मगर हिंदुस्तानियों के लिए ये इसलिए भी ज़रूरी था समझना कि अब इमरान खान ने जो फौज के साथ कर दिया है, इस सबसे फौज का पाकिस्तान में जो किरदार है वो कैसे बदलेगा। अब ये याद रखें, ये इसलिए क्योंकि हिंदुस्तानी तो ये समझते हैं, और क्या हिंदुस्तानी क्या पूरी दुनिया को ये समझ है कि पाकिस्तान को असल में फौज चलाती है। मगर अब ये जो हो गया है, इससे फौज की जो क्रेडिबिलिटी है, फौज की जो स्टैंडिंग है, फौज का जो सियासी कंट्रोल है पाकिस्तान के ऊपर, वो क्लियरली बदल गया है। और बड़े अरसे बाद किसी ने फौज के स्टेटस को डेमोक्रेटिकली ऐसे चैलेंज किया है। वैसे तो लोग बहुत सारी तकरीरें करते हैं, मुझे क्यों निकाला, मैं जनरल फैज को अंदर कर दूंगा, मैं बाजवा को फलाना कर दूंगा। ये चीजें नवाज शरीफ साहब ने बोली हुई हैं, पीपीपी के जरदारी साहब ने बोला हुआ है कि मैं ईंट से ईंट बजा दूंगा। मरियम नवाज ने नारा लगाया हुआ है कि ये जो दहशतगर्दी है इसके पीछे वर्दी है। मगर ये खोखले नारे हैं, ये खोखली थ्रेट्स हैं, क्योंकि ये जो लोग हैं ये सब सिस्टम पॉलिटिशियंस हैं, और उन्होंने सिस्टम के अंदर रहते ही पिछले 1.5 साल आप पे, मुझ पे, हम पे राज किया है, बगैर किसी मैंडेट के पीडीएम की हुकूमत चलाई है और इलेक्शंस को डिले किया है। अगर ये लोग इलेक्शंस कर लेते तो पाकिस्तान की सियासत, पाकिस्तान की जमहूरियत आज इतनी पोलराइज ना होती जितनी अब हुई है, और पाकिस्तान इस सूरत हाल में ना होता, ना पॉलिटिकली और ना इकोनॉमिकली। मगर उनको ये अंदेशा नहीं था, उनको ये अंदेशा था कि फौज की पोजीशन कैसे बदलेगी। और हाँ, एक और चीज, उनको ये भी अंदेशा है कि क्या नवाज शरीफ, जिसको हिंदुस्तान में बड़ा पसंद किया जाता है क्योंकि नवाज शरीफ बड़ा प्रो मोदी है और बड़ा प्रो ट्रेड है, हिंदुस्तान के साथ तिजारत वगैरह और नॉर्मलाइजेशन करने का बादशाह है, तो इसलिए मुझे जो समझ आई इस इंटरव्यू के दौरानिए में कि इमरान खान के लिए, उसकी रिटर्न के लिए हिंदुस्तानी जो हैं वो थोड़े से एंग्शियस हैं। जिस तरीके से इमरान खान ने सिर्फ नवाज को नहीं, जो उनका दोस्त है, बल्कि फौज को, जो उनकी रिवायती दुश्मन है, दोनों को, दोस्त को और दुश्मन को, दोनों को डिस्प्लेस कर दिया है और एक वर्टिकल पिलर खड़ा कर दिया है पाकिस्तान में जमहूरियत का। इंटरव्यू अंग्रेजी में है, मगर बड़ी दिलचस्प डिबेट है। मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि ये डिबेट जो है आप फॉलो करें, शेयर करें, लाइक करें, सब्सक्राइब करें, कमेंट करें, और जैसे मारियो पूजो ने कहा था अपने नॉवल में, कीप योर फ्रेंड्स क्लोज, कीप योर एनिमीज क्लोजर। बरखा तो मेरी कॉलीग हैं, मेरी दोस्त हैं, हमारा बड़ा पुराना, हमारी जो है प्रोफेशनल रिलेशनशिप रही है। तो मैं ये बरखा के बारे में नहीं कह रहा, ना हिंदुस्तानियों के बारे में कह रहा हूं, मगर क्लियरली जिस तरीके से हिंदुस्तान की रियासत हमें देख रही है, वो मारियो पूजो का ये कोट शायद उनके लिए लगता है। सो enjoy the show and don't forget to share, like, subscribe and comment and support independent journalism. And remember, जो भी हो जाए इस इलेक्शन में, अभी भी रिजल्ट्स क्लियर नहीं है, remember, आप अकेले नहीं हैं, you are not alone. Take care and I will talk to you soon. Enjoy the show.
When we went to sleep here in India and also, of course, in Pakistan across the border, it looked as if Imran Khan, even while being in jail, by fielding independent candidates, had cocked a snook at the Pakistan army, whose aim clearly seemed to be to manage the election in such a way that Imran Khan would not have any chance at leading the next government. But early leads at least seem to suggest a dramatic win for his candidates. As we wake up here in South Asia, the numbers on Pakistani TV channels seem quite different. It will still be a while before official results are in, but Imran Khan's supporters are alleging that the Pakistan military is trying to steal the election. Is that the case? Or, as happens sometimes in counting, we know this from elections in India, as more and more rounds are counted, Has the trend changed? What's actually going on in Pakistan? And beyond the numbers, what are, in a sense, the shifting undercurrents of politics? I want to welcome on the program now Wajahat Khan. Wajahat Khan is, of course, a very, very senior Pakistani journalist, and he has been, through his own YouTube channel, giving us incisive insights into actually what's happening here in this part of the world. And Wajahat, a few hours ago, listening to you and listening to others that one knows in Pakistan and whose work one follows, it looked as if Imran Khan, even while in jail, had the last laugh. His proxies or his independent candidates, because his party was denied their party symbol of the bat, seemed to be in dramatic lead. But if you look at Pakistan TV channels now, that lead doesn't look quite as dramatic. First, just the overall picture, what's actually going on.
Right. So there's 2 or 3 stages to it. I would say 3 because I like following Shakespeare's 3-act tragedies, Barka. They threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Khan. But the fact remains today, at least till into the wee hours of the morning, that Khan was the kitchen. Khan remains the kitchen. A lot of people are saying Khan is back. I've contended, and so have millions of voters, that Khan never left. I think according to any poll and survey, any measure, this is statistical, quantitative analysis. This is not anecdotal stuff about Khan's swaggering good looks. This is just any poll and survey you take across the country, including by think tanks, which he's frankly cracked down on and hasn't funded and hasn't been a fan of. These are those guys as well. And everybody's come to the conclusion that Pakistan has 2 concurrent phenomenon. One is Khan's popularity. The second is the youth bulge. And Khan seems to have, despite being a septuagenarian, he is, by most standards, perhaps the fittest septuagenarian in the subcontinent, but he's appealed to the younger lot, and they're the ones who really came out. What this was in a way very similar to what we saw Obama do in 2008. It was a lot of younger people who voted. You remember that election. You covered that election. I covered that election. That election came out of left field, especially because of a new generation of voters here in America. Pakistan's had a similar moment, but unlike the Democrat Party, the PTI doesn't have to contend with the Democrats didn't have to contend with the military apparatus, one of the world's most formidable. And that's what seems to have kicked in. If you look at the recap of the last 24 hours, there was an unannounced digital blackout across the country. Nobody owned it. In a classic Pakistani whodunit, nobody really owned it. When nobody owns something, that you know who owns it. That was, of course, the mighty intelligence apparatus. The blackout remains. The digital blackout remains in certain parts of the country. But that still didn't stop people from what is being considered anecdotally as a massive turnout across the board. And that's what's really turned the ship around for Khan. But into the wee hours of the morning, the results are slowly reversing. There seems to be a capture of the votes. And contrary to parliamentary tradition, contrary to even Pakistan's skewed and tainted standards, an official election announcement delay of this long is unprecedented. I've covered 4 elections in my limited years, but I haven't seen such a long delay. Even during Pervez Musharraf's time, when Benazir was assassinated in 2007, and there was that election in early 2008, even then, when the country was tense and in the throes of the war on terror, there was no excuse to delay the results for this long. We are seeing some upsets, but those upsets are slowly being reversed, including the upset of Khan's arch rival, Nawaz Sharif, who was losing a few hours ago, but now is miraculously leading again.
So let's talk a little bit about what you're actually saying. If I were to parse through all of this and distill it into the bottom line, you're actually saying the Pakistan military apparatus is trying to steal the election from Imran Khan.
Yes, but I wish it was as simple as that, because what you're also seeing is within the apparatus I think your audiences, all audiences, need to understand that this is not just a bunch of colonels and majors and brigadiers wearing their track pants like you and I are right now and going about acting out of their ambit. This is the Election Commission of Pakistan, which has been hijacked by pro-military elements. This is the famous Muslim League Nawaz and the bureaucrats that it's nurtured over years of controlling Pakistan's biggest power center, the Punjab province. This is pretty much all the effective police services in the country. This is not just a military-backed exercise. This is effectively the Raj itself. This is all of the bureaucracy, the Babus, everybody's on one side, and one of the highest voter turnouts, one of the youngest voter turnouts in recent global history. On the other side, there's been around, fair to say, around 25, 30 million young first-time voters admitted on the ballot here for the first time, Barka. So there's a feeling of a vote being stolen. It's happened to Pakistanis before in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s. It's happened. But what you're looking at is a new generation. A lot of Gen Zers are voting for the first time who are shocked, who are taking their rage onto TikTok, etc. So what you're seeing is a social phenomenon which is not just about the military versus the people. It's more. It's way more pronounced than that.
Now, there are friends in Pakistan that I've been speaking to, apart from yourself, and some of them are making a slightly different argument from the one that you're making. And their argument is that because internet services had been snapped, mobile services had been snapped, there is a huge gap in the release of official results and sort of the communication around those. And therefore, they're arguing, for example, that Bilawal Bhutto's PPP has won fair and square in Sindh. And Punjab is still up for grabs. Yes, it's been a setback for Nawaz Sharif, but it's not over and done yet. And they're not accepting your argument of the rigged poll. They're saying this delay, this confusion is because internet services were suspended. What do you say?
I say, first of all, that when was the internet suspended? Bang on time, just as the polls opened. Number one, quite convenient. Second, the internet has very little to do with the election management system, which they've just introduced. It's supposed to be an intranet system. As you know, you're seeing images of hand-counted paper ballots. That's how things are done. You don't need internet for that. You need fingers. The process of getting the hand-counted ballots into the central machinery, that is now intranet-based, not internet-based, specifically designed not to be hacked or breached by people from across the world, including, I must say, there was a contention that, Indian hackers might come in and take over this election. That was
I have to say that of all the arguments the Indian opposition makes, the EVM hacking is absolute rubbish in my opinion, just for the record. But carry on, yeah.
Right, but that was floated as well. So they're actually they've been whoever you've been talking to does not understand the officially announced contention that the EMS does not depend, the current system, which is now the most controversial app ever made in recent Pakistani political history. The EMS is not internet-based, it's an intranet-based app. But besides that, the army being moved in at locations where the PMLN, their favorite party, was losing, all of these things, returning officers, these are the chaps who are supposed to actually announce the results. All of those actual old school measures, which we've seen through the 70s and 80s, were deployed. This has very little to do with digital tech. All of this has to do with old school gerrymandering. That's what a lot of this is. So I would disagree. I would also, however, contend that anecdotal evidence as seen on social media counters that. There was a go slow in so many parts of so many polling stations which were denied. People were turned away today. This hasn't happened in a while. Pakistan has the second lowest turnout in any South Asian country. Afghanistan is the only worst one. I mean, you guys, on average, Barka, from what I understand, India has a healthy 70-75% turnout. The highest one in Pakistani history has been in the mid-50s. So, and by all accounts, it's supposed to be over 60% this time. So I disagree with your friends, and who are probably my friends as well, that this has a digital implication. Not at all. And the proof is in the pudding. The PMLN, Nawaz Sharif's almighty Sher Wali PMLN, went home early to bed. They left the election headquarters. They had catering done. There was naan, there was nihari, the best food Lahore has to offer. The mic was set, the stage was set for a midnight victory speech, which I think you attended back in 2013. You were there in Lahore. Nawaz loves those victory speeches. Guess what? I don't know who had the nihari. It wasn't Nawaz, and it wasn't the press gaggle which was invited. So
so that election reminds me. Nawaz Sharif wins. I get a chance to interview him soon after, and I ask him, who's the boss, you or the Pakistan Army Chief? He says the Prime Minister. Whoever the Prime Minister is the boss of the Pakistan Army Chief. And he goes through the treatment that Imran Khan is presently at the receiving end of. The reason I bring this example up is for Pakistan watchers like myself, there seems to be a kind of revolving door politics here, a deja vu moment. We've been here before observing this kind of thing unfold in Pakistan. It's just that the players have been on the opposite sides of each other than they are today. Imran Khan was once described as the poster boy, the golden child of the Pakistan military establishment. Today, he seemed to be an anti-establishment figure. Earlier, Nawaz Sharif was in jail and then pushed into exile for exactly the same reasons. What's the larger message here? To me, it seems that the people of Pakistan, despite all of the institutional corrosion, seem to still believe that their vote matters.
Yeah, okay. So if I was in the army, I would joke that, okay, guys, I think we should let the Air Force chaps take over because they have a slightly better battle record, right? Because, I mean, clearly we can't do this because we've been doing this since the 50s and we keep on marking this up. I mean, it's not just till Nawaz Barka. This goes all the way back to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, the famous Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who was eventually executed by a military dictator, Zia-ul-Haq, but even he was opposed. He was the Imran Khan of his generation. He was the populist leader who started as the babe of the military leadership in the 50s and 60s. You remember this. Imran Khan is often blamed for being the babe of the recent military setup, but as you pointed out, there's so many examples. But I would say that the way, the ruthlessness, the brutality through which the Imran Khan machine has been dismantled recently, and the way it's been compounded on social media, and the way everybody's actually seen it in real life digital technicolor, I think that's really created a sort of a level of pushback which we haven't seen. People have gone to the gallows in this country before at the hands of the military. People have gone missing. People have been exiled. What Imran Khan is going through is effectively the same that Nawaz has gone through, Benazir has gone through, Bhutto has gone through. But those were perhaps train wrecks in slow motion. They were done over years, not over weeks and months. You saw Imran go through not one, not two, but 3 convictions over the last week. Unparalleled, unprecedented, legally speaking. A former prime minister convicted of corruption, adultery, and espionage within the same week. Unbelievable, right? That was the kitchen sink and everything else they threw at him. The pushback, however, has not just been in the electorate. The pushback has been everywhere. They've lost the confidence of the people of Pakistan, and that's what resonates differently today. The army has always been powerful, but never disrespected. Today, it's both. And that is a dangerous cusp to sit on.
What happens now, Wajahat? What happens now? In a sense, you have said that there is a attempt to capture votes. The military apparatus has been deployed to try and change this. So are you effectively saying that their chosen candidate, and there's been a lot of discussion, was this a managed election? Was this a rigged election? There are those who argue that there was an attempt to manage the election. Now it's being rigged. Because it's gone against the expectations of the Pakistan military, right? What happens next?
Right. So, as usual, I like to speak in tertiary stages, and so does the military. I learned this both from Shakespeare and my friends in the Pakistan Army, right? So everything is bulleted and usually has a plan A, plan B, and plan C. Plan A, from what I've heard, is in play. I announced this on my channel earlier this afternoon here. It was the wee hours. I said that there's going to be an attempt to protect Fortress Punjab, which has been breached, right? Punjab is the political heartland. It carries over 60-70% of the electorate college. That's what they have to retain if they want to keep Nawaz in the game. Imran has clearly breached that. They're going to try to balance things out with 30 to 40 snatches, right? That's what's going on effectively. This is the equivalent of a 4-inning test match in which at least 2 to 3 wickets have to be called and given unfairly. Now, in a test match over the course of 5 days, one can imagine maybe 1 or 2 wickets being given. Imagine in every inning, at least 3 to 4 have to be done. It would create quite a stir by day 3, if not by day 2. So that's effectively what they have to do, but they have to do it not over 5 days and not with a ball, but with millions of votes and overnight. So they have to pull a coup via the ballot paper. So the first plan A, is to give the PMLN Punjab. If that doesn't happen, if the PTI starts pushing back, and now it's the morning in Pakistan and in India, they're starting to regroup. The PTI is beginning to push back. It's had overnight vigils outside these electoral offices over there. Their leadership hasn't gone home. But if this doesn't happen, for some reason the PTI keeps on retaining its position, then they send the independents to the other guys. That's the 20, I call the PP, which is the PPP, which is the 24-hour all-day breakfast party. They will work with everyone and anyone, right?
The PPP. Yeah,
absolutely. Mr. Asif Ali Zardari and his son, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, they're liberal politically. I like how they think. But as far as the real politique is concerned, they're killers. And they might end up swallowing a lot of independents who will be then convinced. Now, whether they are convinced financially or they are coerced into joining another political setup, that's also possible, because Imran technically, you have to remember, Imran technically doesn't own a party anymore. A, he's not the chairman of the party. B, the party technically doesn't own the candidates which have won for it. So they can legally, even though there's constitutional mandates for floor crossing, they can legally switch over.
So how likely is that? Because let's explain this to our audience. Imran Khan's party doesn't get its symbol, the bat, right? These candidates that we're calling a win for the PTI are they all independents? Are they mostly independents?
No, the candidates who are, I'm sure there's a small peppering of independents.
Yes.
In Pakistan, there always is, but they usually number in the single digits, maybe in like 11, 12, 13. They're never more than that. In any election that I've covered, they haven't crossed in beyond that number. But this time they're in the triple digits. And of course, they've come here they've ridden Khan's popularity wave. Now, the best part is that there is, if the snatching doesn't work overnight, for example, which, by the way, they have started to reverse important gains by the PTI overnight, especially in the Punjab. I just saw PTI's headquarters, in a way, you can call it that, in Peshawar, which is the northwest, and the capital of the very restive Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, which is adjacent to Afghanistan, which the PTI has dominated for years. A big seat in Peshawar has been reversed miraculously and given to Maulana Fazlur Rahman, who is a part of this Nawaz regime and this pro-army regime.
Correct.
So there are these dramatic reversals. If you keep on pulling, you can't have Kramer star in every Jerry Seinfeld episode. It's not going to work. You can do it once in a while, once in a season. You can't do it consecutively. If these guys overplay their hand in these dramatic reversals, they're going to lose the confidence of the people. It's beginning to hemorrhage already. So that's what seems to be happening right now. How likely is it that the independents will be swayed? Quite likely. The chances are the military has harnessed this ability over years. It does it very well. Some people get coerced. Last time, private jets were used, ironically enough, during Imran's own early tenure to make his government. Private jets were used to zip around the best and brightest and most flexible and amenable independent candidates to join his coalition and party hop. So in Pakistan, we take like horse trading as a very serious slur. because we've suffered it perhaps more than any other country in South Asia. There's a lot of flow crossing across South Asia, but the Pakistanis do it in style. They do it in private jets.
So Wajahat, finally, as this sort of reversal, capturing of votes, gerrymandering, old style, what's called horse trading in our part of the world, I think in particular South Asianism, as all of this takes place, is it your understanding that despite the people, the young people of Pakistan, sending a message to the military apparatus through the large voter turnout, through the youth bulge that has manifested for Imran Khan, is it your, analysis instinctively that Nawaz Sharif will still be the next prime minister?
So my analysis instinctively is that right now there's a bunch of generals sitting around the boss himself, the four-star general who effectively runs the country, Asim Munir, and effectively trying to break down what happened and what the long-term implications are. Now, Asim Munir must be profiled for a quick minute here. He is a disciplinarian. He has cracked down in and executed perhaps what is the most brutal crackdown in recent history that we've seen anywhere in the world. This is African level, Myanmar, close to Myanmar level breakdown here. Over 10,000 people have been incarcerated over one event, May 9th, which happened a few months ago, but which has been used and called a black day by the Pakistan military to not just dismantle PTI, but all its well-wishers, voters, husbands, wives, people, regular civilians who just marched that day just to pose their concerns and their sympathy for Imran. We aren't talking about hard-boiled political workers who were put in jail. We're talking about housewives who were separated from their kids for months because they marched with a PTI flag and some face paint on their cheeks. So this is a pretty hardcore sort of chap. And I'm sure he's sitting there tonight with his 9 corps commanders and his 17 principal staff officers saying, all right, guys, should we go ahead and do exactly what we've been doing for the past 16 months, which is to continue as if this is some sort of infantry exercise. The problem is that the army's discipline it's both its strength and its weakness. And in a way, this is a very coup-safe army that internally they're very disciplined. You don't hear of those colonel coups that you hear from Middle Eastern armies happen in the Pakistan army, because they're very good at not just policing the country, but themselves as well. But I'm hoping that there are some generals tonight this morning, having a think and telling General Asim Munir that, sir, there's going to be immense pushback. The last time we sort of, stepped out of bounds, May 9th happened. Yes, we cracked down, but that has created a fissure between the Pakistan.
For a moment, you need to explain to our audience what was May 9th.
May 9th, as the date suggests, was last summer, and it was it happened in the afternoon when thousands of people started marching in different parts of Pakistan in spontaneous protests across the country. Minutes after Imran Khan was arrested in Lahore, in Islamabad, and we saw those his visuals of him being dragged, a 71-year-old hero being dragged, a hero to millions, being dragged through the court premises by paramilitary rangers. And that's something which seared and connected in such a way that women, children, senior citizens, thousands of people took to the streets of Pakistan. Some of them, of course, were arsonists. There was a plan to disrupt the government in all across the country. Military installations were attacked. The monuments to martyrs were burnt. In fact, the Holy Grail itself, Pakistan's political Mecca, GHQ, General Headquarters, the home of the army, was attacked as well. So premised on that, the pushback which came was the most vicious we've seen in recent history. We haven't seen such a pushback since the 80s, when Benazir Bhutto and her followers decided to take on and have a staring contest with the dictator then, Ziaul Haq. But Pakistan was under a direct military rule and martial law then. What's happened today has happened with the constitutional embellishment. In fact, they have altered the constitution to try the people connected to the May 9 protests and Imran Khan. And Imran Khan is being tried again on a May 9 conspiracy case as well. So May 9 has become sort of this like the narrative that the army peddles is the Indians couldn't do this to us, but Imran did this to us. And Imran he's the one who spurred all of this on. What the Indians couldn't do in 75 years, the Imran did in one day, is the narrative they peddle. And premised on that, I'm sure there's a lot of generals saying, sir, we've cracked down on that brutally, but let's not risk another May 9th. If we do a reversal overnight, there might be pushback again. And let's
Wajahat, yeah, before we let you go, would you say two questions? Would you say, Pakistan is now post-coup overtly, right? Those days when the army needed to come and overtly take over, the army doesn't need that anymore. It can continue to pull the strings from where it is. But so therefore the question becomes, is this a post-coup coup? Question one. Question two, there is a global response that is going to be interesting to watch. Among the allegations, against Imran Khan involve a kind of, traitorship, right? Being a traitor. He's been called a traitor. He's been accused of treason. The Americans have been very circumspect as questions have been put to the White House over rigging that is unfolding. Imran Khan is not liked by the Americans, right? Even in India, Imran Khan, I mean, while I think, Indians are keenly observing what message this sends to the Pakistani military establishment, the security establishment, Nawaz Sharif has always been seen to be more India-friendly than Imran Khan. Who's going to actually stand up for Imran Khan? Do you actually think people are going to come out into the streets if this result goes a different way?
So internationally is the easiest to answer. Imran didn't invest in a lot of friends anywhere. He was a bit of a lone wolf diplomat in that sense. He did his own thing. He thumbed his nose at the Americans, this current administration. Sure, he had a fun little party with Mr. and Mrs. Trump when he was visiting America, but all of it was very personal and not really political. He hasn't invested in the Arab kings, who are the mainstays of the client-patron relationship that is based with Pakistani leaders, especially Nawaz, who the Arab kings love. He has obviously he's called Mr. Modi a fascist at every given opportunity he could possibly do that. So the joke was, is Imran going to use the F word for Modi? And in fact, he stood at the UN and called Modi a fascist.
And therefore, I must say that there will be no tears for Imran Khan per se at all in India. If Imran Khan was not somebody with whom India or Indians thought that they could do business, the only interest for India in this story is, all right, the Pakistani military is not as all-powerful as is assumed.
Right, and that's what I would like to concentrate on. So he didn't have a lot of friends or love lost abroad, so nobody's really going to come to his aid. But I think at this point, the answer will be localized. I think the answer will be localized because we've seen when people rise for Imran Khan, then even GHQ can be breached. Hopefully, all of this is settled politically, amicably, with negotiations, which I hope have started, and a new social compact, which I know sounds really idealistic, but I hope that is required. I think that is required, and I hope that's where this goes. But I think a lot of this was driven by Pakistan's military's worldview of geopolitics. Imran was not just thumbing his nose at India, he was really taking on friends and foes everywhere, right? So he challenged the Arabs by going to the Turks and the Malaysians. He challenged the Americans by being with Vladimir Putin on the day that he was invading Ukraine. He was doing his own thing, and Pakistan doesn't have the economic might to pull an India. India can perhaps do its own thing and, side with Putin in one way and vote with the Ukrainians in another way and still have its own way with the Americans, perhaps. But Imran and Pakistan couldn't afford that. He was doing too much, too quickly, too soon, according to the army. And that may be why he stands isolated internationally. Locally, however, the army will have to decide that does it want to take on a whole generation of Pakistanis who have voted him in? because this is an overwhelmingly historical comeback. This is not a mere, oh yeah, okay, I won 120 seats.
But how is it a comeback if he doesn't actually make it to government? Like, let's say for a moment that, okay, you make the point that this is the young people cocking a snook. Imran has thumbed his nose at the military, but there are various confabulations that go on. The PPP and the PMLN come together. They take a section of the independence. Nawaz Sharif is the prime minister. All is well. The script goes to plan. The Americans will not be unhappy. India will not be unhappy because, as you said, after those personal attacks on Prime Minister Modi, there is literally no takers for Imran Khan's politics in India. He has no friends. He didn't invest in those friends globally, right? So how will it count as a comeback if that's the way it plays out?
This is not going to go away anytime soon as the Pakistani conversation. I think the Pakistani conversation will remain. It will remain in the Pakistani bazaar, the Pakistani drawing room, the Pakistani stock market, the Pakistani social media channel. I think if it's not addressed, then it will start swelling up, as Khan has warned, through political and economic instability, which is something Pakistan needs immediately. You're already looking at economic indicators. There's a lot of overseas Pakistanis across the world, just like there's a huge Indian diaspora. And guess what? Over the last year, they've actually reduced the remittances that they send back to Pakistan. These are billions of dollars, just like they send back to India. But unlike India, which has a strong economic base at home, the Pakistani military, the Pakistani government actually depends on this as the biggest cash injection of dollars possible, which people send from abroad. Well, guess what? That's, I think, reduced by almost a 20% margin since Khan has left the building. So people are showing.
So you believe that the army would need to be circumspect because there could be civil turmoil that economically beleaguered. That an already economically beleaguered Pakistan cannot afford. A last question. Do you believe that you're being too generous to Imran Khan by casting him in the role of this anti-establishment sort of figure when he was clearly willing at one point to do the Pakistan military's bidding? What has unraveled is a series of actually personality clashes, not ideological clashes between Imran and the military. And tomorrow, the same military and the same Imran Khan, even while he's in jail, could reach some sort of compromise on how to proceed?
That's an excellent question. I'm so glad you've asked it. So Imran's often called the military's babe, the military's darling. He grew up in the arms of the military. I respectfully disagree. I think the argument has weight, but I want to nuance it more. Sure, Imran couldn't have become prime minister without the military's help, but then nobody in the last two generations of Pakistani leadership could have gotten in the prime minister's office without the military's green light. So firstly, he's not alone. This is a very crowded club. And secondly, now when it comes to being a chamcha, there's a difference between working with the military and working for the military. And I think Imran was working with the military. In fact, he was working with the military even before the military knew much or had many plans for him. If you go all the way back to the mid-90s when he launched his party, Imran has never, ever fundamentally disagreed, even when he won one vote back in the day, in the early 2000s. Even then, Barka, you remember this, he's never really said anything which is fundamentally at loggerheads with the military's worldview. He's been a nationalist. He's been a hawk for India. All right. He's very clear about Kashmir. He's been very, very...
Yeah, but all of that has brought him nothing, right? On the world stage, vis-a-vis India... Sure, but my question is simply, isn't he the army's guy? It's just that he clashed with the wrong general. Tomorrow there's another general negotiating with him, right? He picked a fight over a particular appointment and it all unraveled from there. He didn't. Yes, no?
I think that's very, your timeline starts in 21 with that example, right? My timeline starts, because I'm an Imran watcher, my timeline starts really early, way beyond that, around the time he was elected, which is when this new leadership process for the military began. But that would be too much inside baseball for your Indian audiences or international audiences. But all I'm going to wrap up and saying that Imran, there's been two sorts of leaders in Pakistan. One have worked for the military, the others have worked with the military. No leader has not worked with the military. Imran
Sure.
Khan surely qualifies as a leader who worked with the military and not necessarily for the military. It is when they try to recruit him from role A into role B, saying, hey, buddy, you're not working with us, you're working for us. And yes, that's where your example of him trying to, all he was trying to do on paper, it doesn't look so complicated, right? He's saying, hey, you know, that one general, can we keep him around? Because constitutionally, I can keep him around because he technically works for me, not you. It's an official Babu appointment. It's like saying, secretary ko idhar nahi, idhar dal do, right? I mean, it wouldn't create a stir in India because the prime minister could do it and will do it. But you can't do that in Pakistan with a 3-star general. Yes, there's one argument there, but I would say that over years, Imran has fundamentally been on the same nationalist page with the military. Nukes, Taliban, India, the Americans, an independent foreign policy. The military also harps on about the same things. They've never disagreed on anything. If anybody's disagreed with the military, it's been someone like Nawaz, who actually has been pro-India and pro-trade and pro-normalization.
I agree. And that is why I would say that if from an India-Pakistan perspective, India would definitely be more comfortable relatively with the Nawaz Sharif in the post of Prime Minister. The Americans would be more comfortable.
Sure.
And hence my argument, not to get involved in someone's internal electoral process, hence my argument, and we really should let you go because it's late where you are. Very briefly, what happens next? What happens next?
Okay, so the next depends on the next few hours. So you want to know what happens next? Watch a lot of Pakistani TV, follow my channel, follow a lot of Pakistani tweets. What happens next could be that there is a turnaround, which will be taken as a bit of a snatch, a bit of a midnight robbery, or a highway robbery rather, of a midnight success story, which is that this comeback kid who's pulled this dramatic comeback is still robbed. His wife's in jail. It'll be romanticized. The man is in jail. The man's wife's in jail. The man's deputy is in jail. 10,000 of the man's political party workers are in jail. And he still wins. And he gets the highest voter turnout in recent history. And he still loses. It will be romanticized by the PTI. That might trigger something on the ground. Something could turn violent. Or the military does this as it can and as it has perfected its style. It does this with such ruthless clarity, with such mechanical precision that na beend rahega, na bansri rahegi. You know, that scene happens, and the media, the mainstream media is an interesting yardstick because till last night you were watching them, Barka. They were very euphoric. Channels which have been against Khan were enjoying breaking the news that he's making this comeback, because that's what we do as journalists. We love the drama, right? We love a good story, and it was a good story. And then you saw the story change. You saw it become something else, and the talking heads came in, and the dashboards were taken off, and the scorecards were taken off, and all these screenshots of Nawaz losing were taken off. And that's where you saw the turnaround late night last night. You saw the media start to play ball. And I think that the media will continue to play ball. Unfortunately, Pakistan is in the throes of a bit of a self-corrective mechanism here, which has been executed by the military. So I would say that unless something dramatic happens on the ground from the people of Pakistan, you are going to see a reversal. I think it's really unfortunate. Or what I'm really hoping is the generals set their boss down and say, sir, not this time. This is a good time to heal the country. We can walk away from this looking like heroes. We need the respect of the people more than anything else. The Pakistani military needs the respect of the people of Pakistan to get away with what it usually gets away with. And I think that is going to be the X factor for me. That's what I'm going to be watching out for.
Okay, Wajahat, we're going to let you sleep for a few hours. I think with the request, which I'll take offline, that you join us again when you wake up in New York in a few hours from now. But I'll dial you on that offline, as they say. Thank you very much for taking us through this complete chaos, as it were, in Pakistan. Never a dull moment, certainly. That's one thing that I think we can all agree on. Thank you very much, and take care and get some rest.
Always good to talk to you, Barka. Take care. Bye.
Take care.